I thank you for accepting our invitation very graciously and for agreeing to be a resource person during the session. Welcome, Kapilji.
Thank you, Nidhi.
As I said, NLD is collaborating with GNVS Institute of Management, Mumbai, to do this 2-week certificate course in which faculty members, industry professionals, PhD scholars, and students have joined. So it is also due on our part to express gratitude to the GNVS Institute for their kind support. I'm now privileged to introduce Kapil Bharatiya, as our resource person for today. Professor Kapil Bharatiya is NET and SET qualified. He is a double postgraduate with specialization in business management and marketing. He has an overall work experience of more than 2 decades, which includes experience in the retail sector, banking, customer service, teaching, and training. He has worked with institutions like Shoppers Stop, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, HSBC, Oracle, and also academic institutions like TGES Rajkot, Poddar, and GEMS Education, Dubai. So you can see that his expertise and his profile is a melange of both industry as well as academic experience. Currently, he is associated full-time with Chetna's Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai, and he's also a visiting faculty with institutions like NMI MS University in Mumbai. He's the area chair marketing and an assistant professor at Chetna's Institute of Management and Research. His academic goal is to pursue a PhD in consumer behavior and behavioral economics, and his professional goal is to take up well-deserving cadets in the education industry. He truly believes in tat karma yatra bandhaya sa vidyaya vimuktaye, which means it is karma that does not bind, and it is vidya, knowledge, that liberates. As a teaching professional, he believes in educating through 3 R's. These 3 R's are relevance, rigor, relationships, to instill among learners the 3 E's, that is empowerment, endeavor, and excellence. I must say that this is something that is very much needed in the context of the implementation of NEP 2020, the 3 R's, relevance, rigor, relationships, with a focus on 3 E's, empowerment, endeavor, and excellence. Today, he's going to speak on lessons from Bharatiya Itihasa. Thank you once again, Kapilji, for agreeing to be a resource person, an expert speaker for this certificate course. And we are humbled by your presence, honored by your presence, and we now invite you to make your presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Nidhi ji. Thank you, Vikas ji, for giving me this opportunity. As mentioned, Nidhi ji is, in her brochure also, she has mentioned experts on the knowledge. But let me begin by humbly saying that I'm not an expert in IKS, and I'm still learning a lot in IKS, which I think we all are. And whatever little knowledge that IKS has provided me, I'm constantly gaining. I'm trying to put it in place in terms of the management and make my studies and my teaching also a little more relevant than what it could have been otherwise. So I would designate myself as a, knowledge seeker, a constant knowledge seeker. That is what I would designate at. Thank you, Nidhi ji, Vikas ji, once again for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful program. Much needed way of education that is currently we are having, and let's take this further together. So I always believe in, Bharatiya Gnan Pranali. Yesterday, we discussed with Dr. Mala Kapadia so many things about Bharatiya Pranali. I even like her, I wouldn't be liking it to call it IKS, but I would rather call it as Bharatiya Gyan Pranali. So in that context, I'll just take a quick, revision or a quick recap of what Dr. Mala had covered, because in context of that also my further, presentation and my further content for today will be there. So her session was on U-turn or way forward, wherein we discussed that in Satyug there was 100% wisdom, no fighting. In the Treta Yug there was 75% wisdom and you were fighting with others, maybe with the Rakshas and all. In Dwapar Yug we started fighting with our own family members, and in Kali Yug where there is a constant fight, where there is only 25% wisdom left, and there is a constant fight within ourselves. So we are fighting with ourselves also, we are fighting with the community also, and we are fighting with the climate also. So everything we are kind of degrading, and this is where IKS or Bharatiya Gnan Pranali comes into picture, and we take it forward how the sustainable living, how the sustainability aspect can be incorporated in every aspect of our life. We discussed the 4E crisis: ethical, ecological, emotional, and economic crisis. One very important note that Dr. Mala gave us was Dharayate iti dharma, which means the definition of dharma. What can be righteously taken is what is dharma. And we also discuss about the pathway, participate, and practice. We discussed something about the metacognition. And there were a lot of other aspects that we had done yesterday. Just to name a few, we started with Itihasa. And today, my session is also on Itihasa. So, management lessons from Itihasa. Before I begin, we will just take this prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karvavahe, Tejas Vinavadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Shanti.
May he.
Kapil ji, your slides are not visible. Have you put it on? Sorry,
I have put. My slides are not visible. Just give me a second.
Can anybody confirm, Dr. Vikas, are the slides visible? I cannot see them.
It's visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, then maybe some issue with
I'm
my
still on the
network.
first slide, the prayer slide.
Okay, because I am not able to see.
Clear. Slides
Okay,
are
okay.
Clear.
easily
Okay,
visible.
okay. So we'll begin with this prayer. Now let me talk about the Itihas aspect. What is one thing that Mala ma'am also told us yesterday, that Itihas is not history, neither it is mythology. We in India are confused too much because of this westernized aspect of we being told that your lessons that you have learned or that you are teaching or that you are learning about Ram, about Lakshman, about Krishna, about the Purans, about the Veds, about this thing is all mythology. Now here I would first start with the aspect, what is the difference between mythology and Itihas? Okay. Before that, we'll take one more aspect of India, since we are talking about Indian knowledge system and Bharatiya Gyan Pranali, what India is, and then I will come to the aspect of the history or the Itihas as we call it. Uttaram yat samudrasya himatraischaiva dakshinam varsham tad bharatam nama bharati yatra santati. The region, which you can call it as a country or a geographical boundary or a nation or motherland, that lies north to the ocean and south to the Himalayas, that is the snowy mountains, is the Bharatvarsh, is Bharat. And there live the descendants of Bharat, who are Bharatiyas. If we want to define Bharat as a country, India, of course, does not have its own meaning because it was changed many a times from the river Sindhu. Sindhu became Hindu because somebody could not pronounce Sir, and it became Her. From Hindu became Hind, and from Hindi became India. So the originality is lost somewhere in this entire aspect. And same is with our education, same is with our thoughts, and same is with our thought process. So in reality, if I have to define my motherland, Bharat, it is, and this is the Sanskrit literal, meaning, Bhaya Ratam iti Bharatam, which means that where there is light, that land is Bharat. And light here means knowledge and wisdom, the light of knowledge and wisdom. Bha means light. So Bhaya Ratam iti Bharatam. Let me now go to the Itihas aspect. So what is the big difference between mythology and Itihas? Itihas is not just history. History means in literal sense his story. Okay, now here Itihas is not about only one person's story or somebody, some great person has done something. It is neither mythology. Because when I say mythology, the word mythology comes from the word myth. Myth means not known, false, or something that is uncertain or never happened. Itihas is the shabda which we say. Iti ha asa, iti itihas shabda vakhyatah. That which without any doubt has happened. So all the, all the aspects that we study in our Purans and Ved and Upanishads and all, somewhere they have happened. Yes, there may be a slight digression. Yes, there may be some stories added, but yes, that has happened without doubt. And that is what is Itihas. So in Hindi, if I say, jiska shabdik arth hai, aisa hi tha, which means that this has happened. And if we want to look at the actual definition in Sanskrit, dharma artha kama mokshanam upadesham samanvitam purvavrittam kathayuktam itihasam prachakshate. It means that history or itihas, what we call it, is not only what has happened. There may be some additions, there may be some similarities, there may be some purvavrittam, something that has already occurred. There may be some sermons, updesh. There may be a little bit of stories. If you consider Mahabharat, okay, there are a lot of adjoining stories to it. Nal Damayanti or some other aspects to it. And they could be either in any form, which could be either metaphor, it could be some exaggerated, some stories or tales added to the issue to be, the complex issue to be made understood to the common man. So in real sense, this is what is Itihas. Because if we consider any other Itihas also or anybody else's history also, maybe 100, 200, 500 years back, we were not there. How do we prove that this has happened? So that is what is Itihasam. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Mokshanam. We discussed about the 4 ways of life, that is the 4 Purusharths of life that we as a Sanatani look for. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksh. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, Mokshanam, Upadesham, Samanvitam, some similarity, some Purvavrittam, that is something that has happened in the past, Kathayuktam, there may be a story to it, is what is Itihas. And we will start with this aspect. I will take you through a few aspects of Ramayana. If time permits, we will also take some considerations from Mahabharata, and we will see how this gets linked to the modern day management. There are a lot of examples. A session of 60 minutes or 1.5 hours is much lesser to do this. Whatever I have read, whatever I have understood, and through my own conceptions, I have tried and developed these aspects here in today's presentation. Nidhi and Vikas, I just request you, if anybody is asking questions in between, you can also put me through that. I'll be okay breaking in between and answering the questions if they are very pertinent.
Sure.
So let's begin with the first thing, that is the Utpatti or evolution, where Darwin's theory of evolution gives us. Now, it specifically mentioned, and this is scientifically proven or scientifically given to us from ages, where we have learned the Darwin's theory of evolution, that first there were the aquatic animals, then came the amphibians, then came the reptiles, then came the terrestrial animals, and then came your the human being in its form that is right now. If you logically see our Purans, one of the Purans is the Vishnu Puran. And when it gives us the 10 avatars of Vishnu, is there any connection between this and this? Definitely yes. So the first avatar was Matsya avatar, which is again the aquatic. The second is the Kurma avatar, which is the amphibian, something that can live on land as well as on water. Then came the Varaha avatar. Then came the half lion and half human being Narsi avatar. Then came the Vaman avatar, okay, in its human form, or the dwarf human. Then came the Parshuram avatar in its human form, Ram avatar, Krishna avatar, Buddha avatar, and Kalki avatar, which is yet to appear. So if you see this connection also, somewhere this aligns. Okay. Now, would you still call it a myth? Maybe. There is some mythology related to it, but there is some metaphor related to it. But this has happened. This has definitely happened as it is. Let me now come to the management aspects. This was just about a basic history, and I'm connecting this Itihas with the today's management lessons. When we say management, what is management? I've written the definitions on the slide, but otherwise, what is management?
Yes, it would be good to have some responses from the participants in the
Yes.
chat box. What do you think is management? Yes, it would be good to have some responses. Anybody who wishes to unmute themselves and kind of answer. Okay, so there are some answers, Kapilji, to get things done by others.
Correct.
Managing resources, managing things in an efficient
Managing
manner,
time,
managing
and getting
time.
things done accordingly.
Absolutely.
Okay, utilization of resources in optimal manner, process-based procedure for beginning to end, able to handle a lot of things in a proper way, systematic manner, managing person or things, efficiency.
Ensuring that things work as intended in any organization.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Punita Lakshmi ji. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone, for your responses.
Yes.
I think there are more pouring in. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So, what is management? If you literally see, it is the art of getting the things done. Rather, we could say art and science of getting the things done through and with people in formally organized groups. This was one humanized definition of management. Of course, management is divided into two parts: the scientific management and the people-oriented management. So this is one definition. The other, if you see the functional definition, it is a process of administering and coordinating resources and activities to achieve an organization's objectives efficiently and effectively. This includes the time also, this includes the resources also, this includes anything and everything to do with the organization. As many definitions have already poured in, or many meanings have already poured in by the participants. Thank you, Nidhi for that. So this is what is management. Now, if you literally see the functions of management that are taught to us in the 12th or grade, or FIBCom or SYBCom, anybody doing management or business or BCom, okay, would be going through this process of learning the PODS corb: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting. These are the functions of management. Now, suddenly 5 minutes back, I was talking about Itihas, I was talking about some Puran and Ved and all, and now I'm talking about this modern day management. How do I link this? If I want to link it with the IKS, for this, I have taken the excellent example of a project. And this project was nothing else but building a Ram Setu. Now, when Ram had to build this, okay, as a leader or as a organizer of all these things, was there planning? Was there organizing? Was there commanding? Was there coordinating? Was there controlling? Was there any kind of reporting? Was there directing and staffing? All these functions were there. Yes. What is planning? Let's take this from participants again. What is planning? I've already given the definition, but something more.
Yes. Planning. Do you want Participants, do you want to reflect on this question? Arrangement of tasks. That is what Sarita ji has said.
Yes.
In an order, in a particular order.
Correct.
Tulya ji is saying procedure of carrying out a task.
Lovely.
Katan ji says cost benefit analysis.
Okay, one of the elements of planning. Yes.
Yeah, clarity in ideas and arrangement, making a blueprint of work to be done in the future, preparation of tasks in a systematic manner, ideas discussed before execution.
Absolutely.
Yes, I think we have a lot of management enthusiasts.
Yes, yes, there will be a lot of students. I'm sure that in any aspect they would be learning management. Okay,
Correct, correct.
I'm only trying to relate it to our Itihas, something that has happened. If there was no planning, would there be this? So if I say planning, in simple terms, planning is a process of identifying what is to be done, when it is to be done, how it is to be done, and who's to do it. It's as simple as that. And of course, to achieve some goal in terms of management organizational goal. This was a goal. They wanted to go from, the Rameshwaram to Lanka, but the sea was there. And how do we do this? So today also these bridges over the sea, I live in Mumbai and we have Atal Setu, which has recently come up. And few years back, maybe 10, 12 years back, we had the inauguration of the Rajiv Gandhi Bandra-Worli Sea Link. These bridges are built. There is a lot of planning goes into it. There are some approvals to be taken, and there are some licenses to be taken, and environmental licenses to be taken. Planning. This is forecasting future conditions and devising your strategies to achieve these goals. Okay. So that is what is planning. And there was a planning that Ram also did for it. When to do, how to do. Next one is arranging or organizing. What is organizing? It is arranging the resources and tasks to implement the plans. As and when I move ahead, I will come to more and more aspects, who was doing what and all that within this project itself as a tool for understanding the certain aspects of management. Then there is commanding or leading, directing and motivating people to fulfill your desired objectives. There is a lot of coordination that is required between different teams. There would be some engineering teams, there would be some architecture teams, there would be some supply and resource teams, there would be some resource allocating teams and some production teams, whatever. So ensuring that everything is going together and it's in harmony, there is something called as coordinating. And there is, of course, monitoring and controlling required. Where things are going wrong, you intervene in between. These are the functions of management. Do you see this beautiful application in building the Ram Setu? Mostly, I think yes. All these functions were there and therefore that Setu was built up successfully. Was there delegation of authority? What do you mean by delegation of authority? Any idea what is delegation? Who delegated to whom?
From the higher up to a lower subordinate.
Absolutely.
Things which can be instructed clearly and which can be done by anyone under clear instructions can be delegated.
Perfect.
Yes, allocation, distribution of duties, representation, division of work between people, assigning specific tasks to people.
Perfect. So this is delegation. Delegation is basically a temporary parting of the authority. Now Ram was God, no? He would have said, "Ke bhai, main khud bana lunga apna bridge. Okay, I don't need anybody." Why were so many Vanars and the entire Vanar Sena brought into this? So there is a management process here. It is assigning the task or responsibility to another person and giving them the right to perform those tasks autonomously. Here, I will bring up some basic other few elements also. So, we know that there was one Vanar who was Nal and Neel, the twin brothers. Okay, they had got a boon that anything that they throw in the boon or curse rather, not boon, but it was a curse to them because they were harassing some rishis. They had got a curse. Now, this could be a metaphor that whatever I will put in the water, it will float. In reality, it could not be, it may be a little different. This in Ramayana could have been a metaphor, but Ram identified this. And I have been to a temple, when I had been to Pachmadi, I had been to a temple where the stones were floating. These were the coral reef stones, which do not actually drown in the water or sink in the water. They float. Now this aspect, somebody understood, Ram understood, Nal understood, Neil understood, anybody else who was a part of that team understood this. And this was taken. But Ram did not say, I will build it. So there was delegation to Nal, who was the engineer, who was the son of Vishwakarma, and he had got this boon that he will be a divine architect someday. This metaphorically gets into our Itihas, that delegation as a principle of management also happened. Did Ram do all the work? No. So there was assignment of tasks to the Vanar Sena. They were divided into groups. Each one assigned a specific tasks. Some were collecting the stones, the right kind of stones, not any. So your supply chain has to be correct. Your sourcing of the materials or the raw materials has to be correct. So somebody was sourcing the right things. Each assigned a specific task like collecting stones, floating them on water after arranging them, and assembling into the bridge. Now here I want to give you an example, not there on the slide, but I want to give you an example. Most good managers, okay, after the success of the company, they always give credit to their team, their human resources, that this is possible only because of the team. We have seen n number of such examples. You talk about Narayan Murthy, you talk about Ratan Tata, you talk about anybody who are great leaders in terms of corporate world. They give credit to their team. Here also, the credit was given कि ये वानर. Otherwise, Ram would have said ना कि मैं तो अपने सीता को लेके आऊंगा, मुझे नहीं जरूरत है. But this management aspect was there. कि no, it is done through the help of somebody. Everything cannot be done alone. Okay, so that was one aspect. Secondly, they give credit to the lowermost, person in the organizational hierarchy. So a story also goes like this, that there was a squirrel who was putting sand in between the stones, and some Vanar made fun of them that, we are taking such huge stones on our head and, placing it in the right way. What, your effort is not even noteworthy. Why are you doing this? Ram somewhere heard this conversation. He said, no, even this is somebody's role. Even if it is a small job, but still it is adding value, because the gap that was between the stones was still allowing the water to, come on the surface or whatever. So by taking small grains of sand also, this squirrel was helping them. And that was recognized by whom? The senior-most person, who could be Lord Ram, Sri Ram. And he also gave a credit to that little squirrel who was adding to the tasks or to the betterment of the job or final completion, towards the final completion of the Setu. This kind of a thing, okay, is seen today. And when we take this example of Itihas, this is what we are learning from our Itihasas. The structured approach also ensured efficient completion of the task within those 5 days, as described in the Youth Kand of the Ramayana. So these are certain aspects like delegation of authority. Similarly, there was a leadership hierarchy when we talk about the tall organizations and flat organizations. Here, whatever we want to consider it a tall organization or a flat organization, but there was some organizational hierarchy. There were some supervisors who were playing some role. So Hanuman, Angad, Jamban, Sugriv, these are all the different, Vanars and the bear. Jamban was the bear who were helping this team. So they played the supervisory role. Now, if you see, literally, an organizational structure is being formed. And there was constant motivation, motivating the workforce, ensuring smooth operations and morale. Because there were at times when, even the Vanars were either getting tired or they were giving up. How will we build such a... So there was a morale that was being created. The entire... We learn these concepts when we are learning different management aspects, motivation and morale. So, of course, motivation and morale for this entire workforce of the Vanar Sena was also ensuring smooth operations, was also ensuring that they built the correct the bridge in the correct manner, and all as planned is moving in that direction. So delegation of authority also we can literally see here, and we can actually gauge that this is also a management aspect. Was there centralization or was there decentralization? What do you mean by centralization and decentralization?
Yes, any responses in the chat box on what is centralization and decentralization? I think if we understand these concepts, we can very well see how decentralization plays a significant role in the building of the Ram Setu. So power in one hand, or either it's distributed, bottom-up approach. Yes, Neha Chaturvedi ji, do you want to add something? Okay, distribution of power in one hand, power
Yes.
breaking to states from central government. That's an example that Revati ji has
Correct.
given. Yes, correct. Meghna ji, you're correct, Meghna ji, absolutely. Panchayats, unified control.
Yes, so we talk in Indian context also, these panchayats, which is the local self-government, moving on to the state governments, and then final the central government. So there is this federal system and there is this decentralization of power. Yes.
Yes, there are a couple of responses like
So-
concentration of control, and yeah, I think the concept is pretty well understood.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
in this context, if you see the example of Ram Setu project, clearly there was decentralization, systematic effort. It is nothing else but systematic effort to delegate to the lowest levels and all authority, except that which can only be exercised at the central points. So maybe the decision was to be taken when to do this, which particular day to do this. So a center as a central decision to be taken, okay, when there is a low tide, when the samudra is shant, okay, that is the right time to build the bridge. And this was within the 5 days when the bridge was built. So certain decisions are centralized. However, there was a decentralization also. We already saw somebody was given supervisory roles. The lowest most contributor was also given a chance to do his job without getting too much of workload or whatever. Okay, so there is some kind of a stress management also here. So there was no micromanagement. There was trust shown clearly in the subordinates. Had Ram said that I don't trust Neel, yaar, matlab wo to young hai, because if you see categorically Ramayana, these Nal and Neel both were very young at their age in terms of the Vanar Sena. One of them, they were Angad was in fact very young. He was the son of Sugriv. No, sorry, Vali. He was the son of Vali. Okay, so they were pretty young Vanars. Now, was there trust built in them? Yes, that we trust you. You are an architect. You are, a contributor. So you are getting a supervisory role. You are getting a role of the architect. You are getting this. And had Ram said, no, I can build it. Again, the same question. There was only centralization. I could have done, I just do what I say, but that's not the case. So certain organizations are centralized. Certain organizations are decentralized. This same thing cannot happen in a military organization, where centralization is required. At the time of war, when there is a situation, the commander, the captain, or whatever the designations are, cannot rely on somebody's. It has to be done to the T, whatever instructions are given, and everybody has to follow. So where centralization is required, where decentralization is required. So these are the aspects. Recognition was also given to the lowest order, which I already discussed. That is the squirrel. So even that contribution did not go in vain. Somewhere in Ramayana, in some of the Ramayans, we have actually many Ramayans. The original being Valmiki Ramayana, but there are other Ramayans like Tulsi Ramayana, Kamb Ramayana, Pump Ramayana, Urdu Ramayana is also there, which is Chakbast Ramayana. And as we move ahead, there are a lot of variations and mythology, or the addition of the stories, and which I told you in the first slide, there is some Purva Vrittam or there is some Samanvitam which comes into place. But there are a lot of management lessons that can be learned from it. And even if you see this project, there is MBO and MBE. Anybody knows what is MBO and what is MBE? I want the students to answer. Faculty might be definitely knowing, but any students who are learning management would be knowing, or would be wanting to know what is MBO and MBE. Anybody has the answer?
Yes, I think Meghna ji is saying yes, but Meghna
Okay.
ji, I think you're a faculty, so
Okay. Any students here who can answer the question? Meghna
any
ji would
students?
definitely tell yes.
Any students in the room? You can raise your hand. You can type in the chat box. In between, there was an interesting comment by Neha ji.
Okay.
She said Jamwant was a motivator, playing
Yes.
the role of a mentor.
Absolutely. Yes. So
Yes.
there are these HR executives who are trainers and who are motivators, who give us off the job trainings and take us on some picnics and train us. So these people are also playing role in the organization's morale and motivation, building the morale for the employees and teams. Definitely Jamwan was one of them.
काम कर रहे हो?
Meghna ji, please be on mute.
Okay. So any answers there?
Yes, management by objective and
Correct.
management by executive. Of course, there's a PhD student from literature. So-
Okay. MBE is not management by executive. It's slightly different.
Okay.
MBO is correct, management by objectives.
There's another response, proactive management approach.
Okay.
Yes, okay, somebody's Neha ji, do you want to respond? You have raised
MBE
your
management by exceptions, when
Yes.
we deviate from pre-decided rules or norms or
Correct.
deadlines. So that is MBE.
Absolutely. Do not interrupt unless and until it is very critical. As a manager, do not intervene, interfere, or interrupt in everybody's daily jobs or routine work unless and until there is a crisis, unless and until you are being called for. So मान लो एक organization है, there is some problem with somebody's computer. Will you go and complain it to the CEO that, oh, my desktop is not working, what kind of an organization are you running? No. You would go to the right IT person or IT resource or IT head or whatever is in your department, and you will get it done from there. If there is some big problem where everybody's software needs to change, now that an IT manager cannot decide. There is a lot of cost involved. Here is a crisis situation. Here is where some project manager or some senior authority has to take the costing decision and then interfere. Okay, we'll work till now, till the time we have this or whatever. So obviously there is management of objectives and there is management by exception. So management by objectives and management by exception. Only interfere or intervene or so if you see this project also, Ram Setu, did Ram tell anybody कि मेरा नाम लिखो हर stone पे तो ही वो float होगा? Was there any such condition given by Ram? No. It was the shraddha of the people or the participants who were working there to construct Ram कि श्री राम लिखते हैं और फिर इसको डालते हैं, हमारी श्रद्धा से भी ये float करेगा. Okay, so that was basically the idea. And Ram did not interfere. और एक आध कोई पत्थर रह गया होगा जिस पे राम नहीं लिखा होगा तो वो डूबेगा. No, he did not interfere. So we saw in the earlier slide what roles were given. So there was clearly a leadership hierarchy. There were assignment of tasks, and there was trust being ensured on the people or enshrined on the people working for this. So concepts of MBO and MBE, if somebody asks me, was there it in Ramayana or was there what is in Bharatiya Itihasa? Yes, we had MBO and we had MBE. These aspects were also well taken care of, according to me. Okay, let's check now 14 principles of management. With this same aspect, every principle may not apply directly to the Ram Setu project, but if we consider 14 principles of management, division of work. What is division of work? Assigning the right task to the right people. Was it there? Yes. So we'll just, in our mind, we'll just check mark. Okay, this is done. This principle was applied. The next one, authority and responsibility. Give appropriate authority to people, but at the same time also give responsibility. Authority and responsibility always go hand in hand. You cannot have authority without responsibility because that leads to arrogance. You cannot have responsibility without authority because that again leads to frustration. So was this aspect taken care of? Yes, definitely. There are some people who were given authority. At the same time, they were also responsible for what they were doing. So just like someone mentioned there, that Jamban was given the authority, was given the task of raising morale for the people. And he did it well. So he had the authority to do it in his way. And he was also responsible for the task that he was assigned to him. Similarly, there was discipline. Discipline definitely is required, following the instructions given by the your superiors. So if you consider this project, we had already seen there was some leadership hierarchy. Hanuman, Angad, Jamban, Sugriv played supervisory roles. Whatever they were saying was being followed by the other Vanars who were helping into building that bridge. There was unity of direction. Definitely yes. What is unity of direction? Everybody, entire organization, whether it is one team or second team, everybody aligned to the same goal. And what was the goal? To reach Lanka, to take Ram and Lakshman to Lanka for the Mata Sita, to get her back. So unity of direction was also there. It's not that some Vanar was thinking something else and there were other Vanars who were doing something else. Everybody was aligned to the same goal. This similar goal direction is called as unity of direction. What is there? Yes, it was there. I'll come to this aspect a little later, subordination of individual interest to general interest, which is one of the principles that I'll come to it a little later. Here, what was the remuneration? Can anybody tell me? Remuneration means appropriate pay in terms of today's context. In case of this Setu Bandh, in case of this Ram Setu, what was the remuneration? Was there any remuneration? Ke tum itna karo to main itna paisa dunga. Did Ram offer anybody cash? Did Ram offer anybody salary or paychecks?
No.
No. Then what was the remuneration here?
So was
there any remuneration in the first case? This is a tricky question. Let me ask some tricky questions also now. And anybody can answer this.
yes. So Anurag ji is saying it was devotion and faith.
Yes. Absolutely.
Sir, acceptance in God
Yes.
and yes, acceptance would be the answer.
Correct.
Yes,
Yes.
Amisha ji.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yes.
Sir, the remuneration is seva,
Yes.
devotion.
Yes.
Yes.
Here, devotion is what you are giving. That जो हम बोलते हैं कृपा. Okay, the acceptance that the Ram showed towards those, Vanars was the remuneration.
Correct.
Everything may not come in terms of money. Today, when we talk about corporate, yes, everything lands up in money and paychecks and what is my salary and what is my incentives and what are my bonus. But this is remuneration for the Vanars, that they were accepted by, God himself, Sri Ram himself. That was one big aspect. Then,
Except for
any other
Vanas, there
answer?
is.
I'm sorry.
Except for, I'm sorry to. Except for Vanas, there is one more incident where these transgenders were given the boon to bless the people, due to
Yes.
due to which that Badhai ritual started. So
Yeah,
when
yes.
Ram had to leave for an exile, when he came back and he saw that only transgenders were the most honest people who were staying back, so he just gave them a boon and cult to just bless the people around. So
Correct.
that is again an example of this.
Yes, absolutely. I don't have much idea about this. I'll definitely read more about this, but I've heard about this. So I'll definitely thank you for bringing this aspect also.
It's okay. Actually, my PhD is on this, on transgender, so
lovely.
I just related it with it.
Super, but that's a very, very good example. Yes. So
Thank
in
you.
this case, this is what is the remuneration.
Yes, Madhavi ji, go ahead.
Actually, we heard that before Sita's kidnapping by Ravanasura's son, Sugriv given a word to Rama to help to search for Sita, because he got that Vali and Sugriv fight. So Rama helped her. That word is also there between them. Agreement, so that also makes clear some
Yes,
point.
ma'am. This aspect, no, I'm coming to a little later when I'm talking about the other aspects of management. I'll definitely come to this. This is there in my coming slides.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Madhavi ji. Chilka Mukherjee ji, she has written a very profound statement.
Huh.
To help Sri Ram attain his goal itself is intrinsically motivating, hence no external reward is involved.
Perfect. Perfect. So internal motivation and not the external motivation only. So we have this financial and non-financial incentives. When we talk about motivation as a topic in management, and when we say financial incentives and non-financial incentives, there was more of the non-financial incentive, which is a Hari Krupa. So there is sometimes Hari Ichha and there is sometimes Hari Krupa. Here, the Hari Krupa itself was the remuneration that Vanas were earning out of the project. And ultimately reaching the goal and completing the task was itself a remuneration for them. Lovely, absolutely, perfectly agree. Okay, so let's continue with the next principle, centralization and decentralization. We have already seen the centralization and decentralization should be in what context and should be to what level will depend on the nature of the organization, the nature of the work, and the nature of the tasks that are to be done or the achievement of goals that needs to be done. So clearly we have already discussed the decentralization in the previous thing. Similarly, there is a principle of scalar chain. Scalar chain is nothing else but the line of authority, who reports to whom. And under no circumstances, the modern management says that under no circumstances, this should be broken. Do we see a scalar chain principle also? Yes, we see. There is no, there is a clear gangplank. Teams were divided and then, the division of work was happening. So scalar chain was also there. Then order. Order means what? Order has one principle which is called as PEEP. I think it's in my next slide. I'm coming to it. PEEP, P-E-E-P, all capitals. Place for everything and everything in place. Place for everyone and everyone in place. So there is clearly material as well as social order, which was again what we observe in the entire project. The next one was about stability. What is this principle about stability? The principle of stability, as per the Henry Fayol's 14 principle, says that there should be enough security for the employees to remain in the organization for a longer period of time, which will ensure some kind of a stability. This stability could be in terms of the work, in terms of the job security, in terms of other incentives that are being received, and all kind of, it leads to more of the stability, and this stability brings the stability in the organization of also. So employee stability will bring about organizational stability. This is what the principle says. Here, this was clearly a project-based or a timeline-based management aspect, right? So where is stability? ये तो इस job के बाद खत्म हो जाने वाला है. Then Ram will take Sita, go back to Ayodhya, and Vanars are left out. Was that the case? No. The Vanars were not left out. The Vanars were invited to Ayodhya, whoever wants to come. Okay. So this is what stability is all about. That yes, you have some security और हमारी कृपा आप पर हमेशा रहेगी. That is what Ram said. कि मैं हमेशा आप पर कृपा बनाए रखूंगा. So this is about stability. Next one is initiative. This does not directly apply in this project, but I will talk about it a little later. Equity, was everybody treated equally? Was there equity, or was there any kind of a partiality or any kind of nepotism there? No, we don't see any such evidence. We don't read about any such thing. So obviously there was some kind of equity, and all these principles lead to esprit de corps, which is nothing else but the team spirit. So if you clearly see this Ram Setu project, all the 14 principles of management, including the team spirit, were also there. Everybody was, towards achievement of that goal. Now, if somebody tells me, can I, as a management teacher, can I take this example while teaching this particular topic? Definitely yes. That is what Dr. Mala also discussed yesterday. That in whatever aspects I'm able to connect my Bharatiya Gyan Pranali and Gyan Parampara, I can relate to it as long as it, is not deviated from the its originality. Okay, so just creating some analogies wouldn't help. But here I can clearly see these aspects, and therefore I'm able to relate to this 14 principles of management, including other 5 scientific principles of management, 5 or 7, I can actually relate to this particular project. Let me talk about some other aspects of management. Smart managers don't repeat mistakes. We have all seen. So if you see George Bernard Shaw's quote, success does not consist in never making mistakes, but it never making the same one the second time. Eleanor Roosevelt said, learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. And we have one more Henry Ford's quote, the only real mistakes is the one from which we learn nothing. Now, let's take this in context of Ramayana once again. We are out of the Ram Setu project now, and we are on a new project now, or a new aspect of Ramayana now. After getting Mata Sita back from Lanka, she proved her piousness and purity by giving Agni Pariksha. We all know that, right? This was given in the forest itself, or while they had not yet reached Ayodhya, this thing was done. She had proved her purity. Ram was okay with it, and he never asked for it, but Sita wanted to give it. Later, they go to Ayodhya. Sri Ram also got the throne. Okay, and there was complete Ram Raj. Can anybody tell me what do you mean by Ram Raj? I'll wait for the answers. Nidhi ji, you can read out some of them. Anybody wants to speak also is allowed to. If you can unmute yourself.
Yes, Rajan Sharma ji. Do you want to?
Namaskar, sir and madam. In fact, Ram Rajya is basically the kind of personality we have Ram in terms of Maryada Purushottam. That means the excellence in all aspects, whether it is governance, whether it is discipline, whether it is any domain of life of anybody.
Okay.
And that was being established through Ram Rajya basically.
Okay. Now here, no, I will slightly correct you. Not correct you, rather. We may have difference of points.
Where the praja is the primary.
Yeah, one second, ma'am. Just to answer the previous question, excellence in everything, yes. But why is he Maryada Purushottam? Because he is within limits, Maryada.
Yes.
In that context, when we say excellence in everything, where you can handle every aspect of life, is Krishna, the Purna Purush. Right? So here, within limitations, within the full capacity and within the given constraints, yes, Ram is Maryada Purushottam. Got it. Yes.
Character.
Yes. Yeah, ma'am was speaking something.
I think Punita Lakshmi madam wanted to pitch
Yes.
in.
I was about to say that Ram Rajya means where for the people, the true definition of democracy actually fits Ram Rajya, for the people, where
Yes.
their interests are put first by the ruler.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So I'm coming
There
back to
only Vasishtha said that to do Raja Paripalana, being young king, I give an advice to do for the welfare of the society. That is what your wealth and yash,
Absolutely.
Kirti, is
So
what
there is-
said by Vasishtha. In that context, Rama says, even to leave Sita, I don't feel any pain. But the well-being of the praja is what said by Rama. There comes this
Okay.
context. I suppose.
Great perspective. Yes. So there is we could figure out two terms from this, which is the democracy. We figure out something which is the welfare. Anything else? Democracy, welfare.
Yeah, service before self,
Okay.
epitome of leadership. Ayushi ji has said, rule under which there is prosperity and justice. Mona ji has also added to that idea, ideal rule of justice, righteousness, prosperity, where truth and fairness prevail, land of dharma or righteousness, where everybody was content and satisfied, a state with harmony. Neha ji, you have raised your hand. Any insights from your end?
Yes, I would like to add one more thing, because I work with PBTGs and for tribals. So this is one of the very important aspect of Ramayana. Ram went to different parts of jungles, even to the animals. If I take example of Nishad, he was the subject matter expert of jungles and the roots and sustainability. So Ram went there. He wasn't called to Ayodhya for his guidance, right? So Ram was very much aware of the ground realities of the marginalized also. So he only can be the real king, knowing the not only about the politics or the finance, but also about the real life conditions, also including animals, forest, ecosystem. So I can say this is what sustainability is all about.
Absolutely.
And that is why he is the king who knows each and everything.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Nehaji. Kapilji, just giving you a time check. It's 7:30. Just wants you to be mindful of the time.
Yes. So I'll cover the Ramayana aspects today. Maybe Mahabharata in the next session that we'll have somewhere later.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
So on a comment of one dhobi, that is what the Ramayana says, original Ramayana says, that just one dhobi commented and he was spreading rumors that what is the guarantee that Sita was pious? What is the guarantee that our Maharani Sita, Ram's wife, who is now on the throne with Shri Ram, is a pious or a pavitra lady? She has been to Lanka, Ravan unko utha ke leke gaya tha, fir kya hua, hame pata nahi hai. So how do we prove the piousness? Now this was the thing that Agni Pariksha was already taken. You cannot give a second Agni Pariksha. The answer lies here. The manager's dilemma. Now if you see, you link it with Dashrath's mistake. We saw in the previous slide we saw here, that an ideal person or an ideal ruler or a leader is the one who learns from others' mistakes and who does not repeat the mistakes. Now here, when this episode happened where there was a question about Sita's purity, Ram, as a king or as a leader, had this manager's dilemma. What to do? मेरे लोग ये बोल रहे हैं, and this was not about one. So somebody, while answering that this question earlier, what was Ramraj, somebody also said ground reality of people. तो धोबी ने क्या बोला? What did Dhobi say? कि if I allow my Maharani to be kidnapped by somebody, and then what happens we don't know. Tomorrow our as a good society, if all women are to do this or go with other men, and then how many purities will we check? How many? So this has to stop. Now this was manager's dilemma. What do I select? So we'll come back to this principle: subordination of individual interest to general interest. Ram thought, and again the second one, which is not making mistakes that were already happened. So when Dashrath had asked Ram to go to the forest or to exile on Kaikeyi's demand, because he had promised her that he will fulfill 2 boons that he had given her, because she had saved his life during a particular war and all that. Okay, so three things are there in this entire management lesson of this episode. One, not make the same mistake. So when Dashrath had asked Ram to go, Ram had fully agreed. Okay, no problem. Being a very nice, humble child or whatever. But he had also heard people saying that ये कैसा राजा है, अपनी रानी की बात मानने के लिए हमारा कल राजा बनने वाला था उसको उसने वन में भेज दिया. This was one aspect. So he said, no, I don't, in this sense, I respect my father. I respect his decision. I have also been to exile. I have done whatever and I've come back, but I will not repeat the same mistake again. So I do not want to be called, and when it is my dilemma, when it is about my praja, when it is about my kingdom, I do not want to make the same mistake again by calling myself or my leadership role as a womanizer who just listens to women and, not being able to maintain the duties of the king. So this was one problem. Secondly, do not overpromise and undercommit. Rather, you undercommit and overperform. This is what many leaders also say. So he said that, yes, I will let Sita Mata go to, exile again. But whenever there is a requirement, I am not going to marry again, because that is my promise I have given to my wife. I will not marry. So when Ashwamedh Yagna also happened, he kept the golden murti of Mata Sita. So these are certain aspects which overall we see a clear stakeholder approach. So in context of Ramayana, where you are talking about Praja, Today, if a manager has some dilemma whether to take this decision or this decision, suppose at the time of pandemic, if I may say, there were many institutions and organizations, and I was one of them in the institution when I was into teaching. We did not lose jobs. There were many organizations, small organizations, who could not afford, they had to lay off many of the employees. But there were certain organizations, many organizations rather, even in India and abroad, who did not fire a single employee of theirs. So when it comes to the overall stakeholder approach, whether it is shareholders, employees, government, community, your suppliers, your partners, whatever, you have to see the entire stakeholder approach and then take the decision. And therefore, even this principle very well applies here: subordination of individual interest to general interest, which I was speaking about, the 14 principles. So that gets linked in so very well over here. And Ram Rajya here literally means, somebody said, democracy, welfare, service before self, prosperity and justice. It is nothing else. How is this prosperity and justice coming? How is an ideal kingdom made? How is welfare brought about? It is through the principle of PEEP. Place for everything and everything in place. Place for everyone and everyone in place, which is the material order as well as the social order. So that is what one more principle works very well. Let me now take you through some HR practices in terms of management, which is a conflict resolution techniques, and we'll see in context of Ramayana where they fit in. So there is Thurman Killman's conflict management grid. On one side there is cooperativeness, and on the other side there is assertiveness. With this, we have a grid which gets formed. What is assertiveness? It is the degree to which one is attempting to satisfy one's own concern. And what is cooperativeness? It is the degree to which one is attempting to satisfy other parties' concern. In a manager's role, in a leader's role, even in today's organization, we face this dilemma: whether मैं ये करूँ तो what will be the impact on me, as well as what will be impact on the other person. So there could be a situation where you are uncooperative or cooperative, and there could be a situation where you are unassertive or you are assertive. This leads to 5 types of conflict management techniques. Either you avoid, or you accommodate, or you collaborate, or you compete, or you compromise. Let's see how each situation happens in the context of Ramayana. And here, if we put another grid also, it is just slightly the placement is different. There could be importance of the goal, or there could be importance on relationship. Whether you are placing importance as a manager or as a leader or as a decision maker, you are placing importance on relationship, or you are placing importance on the goal. It could be high or low, and similarly, importance for relationship could also be high or low, which leads to these kind of 5 types of conflict resolution techniques. Let's take one by one in context of Ramayana. Conflict resolution, first one, avoiding, which is withdrawal. Either when an issue is very minor, which is not in the case of Ramayana, here we are not talking about any minor issues, or when engaging in a conflict may cause more harm than good. So you better avoid it. Leaders may choose to avoid some kind of confrontation. This happens many a times in our managerial roles in corporates and all that, where we just try to avoid a certain situation and we try to avoid getting into any confrontations with others if the matters are really very trivial and they are not of much importance into our work, or which are not impacting our role in whatever capacity that we are playing. So when Queen Kaikeyi demanded Ram's exile and placed Bharat on the throne, Bharat did not oppose her directly, but instead he avoided the confrontation and sought Ram in the forest, demonstrating his loyalty. Is this also similar to trusteeship, where Bharat got his paduka, that is his footwear, and he placed him on the throne, and he said that I am only a trustee of you as a king. So I'm doing till the time you come back, but you own this throne and you will be only the Raja of Ayodhya. So there is a concept of trusteeship also coming here, and there is one conflict resolution technique which is avoiding. So rather than me getting into fight with my mother and getting into more trivial matters and not being able to convince her, I'd rather avoid that situation, directly go to the concerned person and talk to him. Second point, compete. When is competing required? It is basically used when a quick or a firm resolution is needed, sometimes at the expenses of values or beliefs. So Tadka, though a woman, had to be killed by Ram. Now Tadka was a woman Rakshas, jo hum log bolte hain, the demons who stay in the forest and they are harassing the. So with Vishwamitra, he had to go to the forest in his early childhood, or not early childhood, sorry, in his teenage, and he had to kill that. And he said, I am going to kill a woman, which is against my principles and my family traditions. I cannot kill a woman. But he had to, no doubt, he had to compete. So somewhere he is accommodating, somewhere he is compromising on his values, somewhere he is competing, but he had to compete. Similarly, despite Hanuman's peaceful approach, Ravan refused to return Sita, and Ram also had to use a competing approach, declaring the war on Lanka. Other Lakshasas like Khar, Dushan, etc. also, there were a lot of stories where this competing had to be shown. This was one of the other conflict resolution, because the demons were constantly in a in a task of bothering the rishis who were performing their yajnas in the forests and all that. Sometimes you have to use the technique of collaboration, where both sides work together to create a mutually beneficial outcome. So if you see forming Vanar Sena with Sugriv, taking advice from Vibhishan, even though Ravan's brother, he had to come, and Ram very well accepted him, because he knew what were the strengths of Vibhishan, what all secrets he knew. So you have to collaborate also. This is how actually mergers, acquisitions, and all these things take place in today's corporate world, where two firms coming together, sharing their tasks, work, formula, whatever it may be, and getting into joint ventures and collaborative approaches, which is again a win-win approach. One more was the compromise. When Lord Ram wanted to cross the ocean to reach Lanka, he initially prayed to Varun, that is the ocean god, to allow a clear path. Okay. Now, waiting for 3 days, constantly praying to the ocean god, he did not. Okay. Because how can, you just pave a way or just evaporate the entire water from this thing? This would go against the nature also. So at this point, Varun interfered and proposed a compromise. कि भाई हम compromise करते हैं. What you do is, I cannot just dry up for you to go to Lanka. Okay? Neither you will be able to go to Lanka with me existing between Lanka and the Indian landmass. So why don't you build a bridge? Okay? And I will make sure that I will not rise my level. Okay, in context of the bridge, when the bridge is built, I will not rise my level of water. Both compromised. In return, Varun also promised that he would keep the waters calm so that the bridge would remain intact. This is a situation of compromise when it comes to conflict. And accommodate. The last one, accommodate. One party gives in to the other's demands to preserve relationships, especially when the issue is more important to the other party. For it was Ram was very clear that he wanted to bring Sita back from Lanka, but he could not do it without the help of Vanars. And therefore, when he tied up with Sugriv, he had to accommodate to Sugriv's demand that you first get my kingdom back to me, which my brother Vali has taken away from me. My brother Vali has also taken away my wife without my permission. You please get them back. And this was the accommodation that Ram had to do. Ram helped Sugriv reclaim his kingdom from Vali, and in return, Sugriv committed to help Ram find Sita. Ram fought Sugriv's battle first and accommodated to Sugriv's this demand कि आप ये करो तो मैं ये करूँगा, and Sugriv gave him this support only after enjoying his kingship and getting his wife back from his brother after his brother being killed by Ram. So these are some conflict management situations. We also have the concept of diplomats in today's world. So Angad played a very beautiful role of a diplomat when he went to Lanka to sort this issue कि भाई आप अच्छे से सीता माता को दे दो. We don't want to fight with you. We don't want to kill your people. We have come here only to take Mata Sita. please give us. So Angad, before the war, also served as a mediator between Ram and Ravan, attempting to resolve the conflict diplomatically. So there is a lesson that diplomacy and negotiation should also be the first approach in resolving any conflict. There are many a times where there are fights between partners, or there are fights between the supplier and the organization, or between the organization and their intermediaries not getting some things on time. Will you break the contract each time? No. So there is some diplomacy that is required. There are some negotiation skills that are required, and a skilled negotiator analyzes this situation and communicates effectively to prevent any unnecessary escalations, which could be a lose-lose situation to all. So this is all from my side in context of Ramayana. We have a limited time, so I'll keep these next 15 minutes open for question and answer. Yesterday, I remember Nidhi pointing out clearly on the timing aspect also. Otherwise, I have many more slides to share, but I think we can have one more session for the management lessons from Mahabharata and Gita also.
Correct.
Yes, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kapilji, for that very elucidate and intriguing link that you could make between our Itihas and management principles. I think even for those who are not from the management background, this would have been very, very interesting. And of course, this gives them and each one of us a starting point to kind of explore not just the Ramayana, but also other epics from a management vantage point. So let's kind of take some questions. There was one question which I'm not sure if it's connected to the session. I'm just trying to locate it in the chat box. I'll try to locate it. So Amisha ji is asking, Kapil sir, which version of the Ramayana have you read?
Okay. Now, honestly, I have not read Ramayana in detail. However, I read a lot of books by the contemporary authors. So I have read this book, which is Ramayana Unraveled by Miss Ami Ganatra.
Yes.
And it gives a good modern perspective. So if you ask me in true sense, I'm not even a Sanskrit scholar. I'm still learning Sanskrit. Online classes I take for Sanskrit. So as I told you in the beginning, I'm not an expert. These are my views. These are my opinions. If I have to teach somebody management in link with the Ramayana, I would link it in this manner. So I'm not that learned, honestly, giving my honest opinion on this. So I have not read Ramayana in detail. But yes, I've read contemporary, Ramayana and Ramayana stories and all that. And of course, I have been brought up, I'm born in 1980. So I'm brought up with Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana. And I have each and every episode in front of my eyes right now. Even when I'm teaching you management lessons, I relate to what I've seen in that thing. And Ramanand Sagar has actually based this Ramayana series on Doordarshan in the 1980s and 90s, I think, which were based on various Ramayans. There is Kam Ramayana, there is Adbhut Ramayana, there is Chakbast Ramayana, of course the original Valmiki Ramayana, and Tulsidas ji's Ramcharitmanas.
Correct. So what you say is very interesting for us from the perspective of an IKS teacher, because most of us are probably beginners or intermediaries in the field of IKS, and we may not have the access or probably even the time to kind of immediately start reading our epics and scriptures. So I feel that some of these modern references, Ami Ganatra you mentioned, these are quite helpful as far as our classroom integration with our subject and IKS is concerned. I think that's a very helpful tip. There's one question by Ansh Rishi ji. I don't know how it is connected to the session that we are doing on management lessons from Bharatiya Itihas. He's asking, how can 4 Purusharthas be justified when in Kama Sutra, which is a Purushartha text, that does not talk about moksha as a Purushartha? So
yes, even if you see Chanakya, Arthashastra, okay, it talks about dharma, artha, and kam, but even Chanakya Niti does not talk about moksha. So moksha is what? If you consider the hierarchy, kya tha wo, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the self-actualization, okay, which leads to moksha. Self-actualization is not moksha. Self-actualization is only understanding how to go and give that. So there will be lot of sutras which do not talk about every purusharth in detail. For example, as I told you, Arthashastra only speaks about dharma, artha, and kama. It does not speak about moksha. I am not knowledgeable enough to comment on the Kama Sutra because I myself have not read it. But yes, it is about the kama and the aspect of kama itself in a very scientific and a very detailed manner, which is not obscene, or which is not only the sexual intercourse per se, but a lot more than that. The art of love. Basically, Kama Sutra means the art of love. So I'm not that gyani to comment on it, but as far as my understanding goes, each of these sutras may have their limited versions of the Purusharths. Not every aspect. However, when I say Bhagavad Gita, or when I say Tulsidas Ramayana or Ramcharitamanas, they will speak about everything. So a specific aspect will speak about certain specific things, but Gita, there is no other management book. I was not able to cover Gita for today, but there is no other management book which talks about all the four mokshas and all the four Purusharths.
Correct. Yes. I wish some other time when we have the scope, you could deliver a webinar.
Even though my slides have it, but I'm not able to, with the limited time, I could not cover. So I had planned only for Ramayana.
No, I think that's perfect because it also keeps us focused. Yes, Ankita ji, you have raised your hand.
Well, ma'am, I have shared a concern in chat box. Like, I just want his insights. Just a minute.
I'm just trying to trace your comment. Okay, Ankita ji is asking Kapil ji, please share your perspective on aspects of sustainability with relevance to today's dynamic world of education and jobs rooted in Bharatiya Parampara.
Okay. Now, when it comes to sustainability, I was just reading one book. 1 second. I'll just get up and... Yeah, there is a lot in terms of sustainability of aspects. I was just reading 2-3 books. There was this Vedic Dinacharya. It is available in English as well as in Hindi. Then Sanatan Sanskriti Ka Mool Gyan, again available in Hindi as well as English. And the sustainability aspect in terms of education, the educational heritage of ancient India.
Yeah,
the
that's
entire
by
Gurukul
Sahana
system.
Singh. Yeah.
Yes, the entire Gurukul system. This is by Sahana Singh.
Yes, yeah.
So the entire Gurukul system is a holistic approach. I have published one research paper, which will be published very soon. I have submitted it for review, and that will be, I think it's already approved, but the publishing is yet to happen with the concerned college in West Bengal, and they will be publishing it in a UGC Care journal, a book chapter and a case on Gurukul system. So this entire Gurukul system, if you see, is based on sustainability. It is logically what it is said, that within the 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers of your radius of wherever you are, you can be self-sustained with all the things available within your vicinity, whether it is a desert or whether it is a frigid zone or whether it is a temperate zone kind of where we equatorial kind of climate where most of the cities and urban areas are dwelled. So this Gurukul system believes in the holistic aspect of education. And it is skill based. It is learning knowledge. It is learning from the Itihasa. There is science, there is mathematics without disturbing the nature per se. So nowadays, see, we are already in Kali Yuga if we see. So everything may only look very, very high level. It may not be actually achievable. Somebody, a few days back just asked me when I was arguing with someone, not arguing rather, we were just talking that, oh my God, this lady, Sudha Murthy is so self-actualized. She went to Kumbh, she performs all the Hindu pujas, she does all the charity, she has her Infosys Foundation, and yet so grounded. But somebody just said, then why didn't she walk all the way through Prayagraj? Now, in today's world, it is not possible. She had to take a flight here. Come on. You can't be so naive by saying कि ये ऐसा idealistic क्यों नहीं है. So there are a lot of things changing. And in this changing context, how best can we sustain our environment is the question. This we have to ask ourselves as well as our, environment.
Correct. Thank you so much. Kapilji, could you please show the books again?
Thank you, Kapilji.
Yes. So this was and this does not apply only in terms of education, sustainability. Sustainability is in terms of corporates also. Nowadays, so many organizations are talking about carbon credits and, taking credits for so many other aspects. And for they being some carbon neutral, they need some incentives and all that. So there is always a give and take. So this is one book, The Educational Heritage of Ancient India. There is one more I have, but I can't find it. It's somewhere in my library. The Beautiful Tree.
The Beautiful Tree.
The Beautiful Tree. So even that is one very interesting book, which entirely gives you a narration of how the, our Janapada system, our temple economy system, and our education system was broken down, and the Machiavelli system came into existence, where we are going into rote learning and learning this subject only, this specialization and that specialization and all that. So there is a lot of aspects to it. One book is not sufficient. There is a library we call, our entire culture as a library. It's not one book.
Correct.
Yes. So this is one book, ma'am. I'll send you the pictures. You can share it with on the group.
Yes. That will be great.
Yeah, I'll share all the pictures that I have. There are many more books in front of me right now. So I'll definitely send you the pictures of those books.
Sure. So there are also some, there's a lot of appreciation for you, Kapilji, in the chat box. Wonderful session, wonderful presentation. We have time for 2 more questions. So Madhukarji is asking, how can we differentiate between mythical stories and real incidents?
Yes.
Tricky question to answer, I guess.
Yes. Now I have, you just give me 1 minute, just 1 minute.
Okay, Abhishek ji is saying that best way to learn about Ramayana is to read Valmiki and Tulsidas ji. Thank you, Abhishek ji. Kathan ji says underrated recommendation, refer Jain Ramayana for a refresh.
Yes, there is Jain Ramayana, yes.
Yeah. Hanuman was a complete diplomat and earlier Ravana's ally, even had multiple wives. It humanizes the characters very much. Okay, yeah. So Kapilji, you can answer.
So Nidhi, I'll have to actually take out all the books to find that book which I was talking about. So somebody just asked that how do you differentiate between the myth and the real history? So what is myth? Myth is something. Abhi मान लो, I'll just give you this Hindi proverb. Jungle mein मोर नाचा किसने देखा? I have not seen. So I will not believe that more dances. You have seen, so you will believe that more dances. No, the peacock will dance. But this myth is something between your truth and my truth. Earlier, I read a lot of books from Devdutt Patnaik also. But somehow I, connect to Devdutt Patnaik's books very well. But somehow there is many a times, there is a force feed of analogies with the concept of Ramayana, Mahabharata, or any other Purans and all these things. So how do we differentiate is read somebody's original work. I had these 2 books which takes you in the time where it is proven through the nakshatras, rashis, and through other aspects that yes, Ram took birth on this particular day. Ram's marriage ceremony was done on this particular day. The Setu was started being built on this particular day. Ravan was killed by Ram on this particular day. This is entire the जो हम लोग astronomy, astrology वगैरह बोलते हैं. In this context, there are dates and there are carbon datings for everything. So if we read those works, see, over a period of time, our history is so old during the Vedic time and the ritual, the Rig Ved time and all that everything is not available today directly firsthand. You have to rely, certain things you have to link with faith, certain things you have to link with the scientific evidences, and then there are many other sources of literature which we can, consider for considering what could be myth and what could be, falsehood or the realistic, whatever. So if I just give, sorry, Nidhi, I'm just taking one more minute to say this. If you see Ramayana, no, Ramayana always has different versions. Okay, there is Tulsi Ramayana, there is Pampa Ramayana, there is Kamba Ramayana from South India. Then there are other Valmiki, the original Valmiki Ramayana. So Ramayana has always been written full version with lot of variations in those stories, because original Valmiki Ramayana does not have Uttarakhand at all. After Ram Raja happened, वो सीता माता की जो exile है वो तो उसमें है ही नहीं, लव कुश का story उसमें है ही नहीं. But then there are some other variations which have. Whereas Mahabharat or Gita and the concepts of Mahabharat have always been studied in bits and pieces. So Draupadi के स्वयंवर के time क्या हुआ, या द्रौपदी के या कृष्ण कथा add हुई महाभारत में later on, या कृष्ण की लीलाएं क्या थी, राधा का तो कोई जिक्र ही नहीं है ओरिजिनल भगवत पुराण में, तो राधा का कैरेक्टर कहाँ से आ गया कृष्ण के साथ. So there are all these stories which come with time. So the main difference between Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are the two important documents for us, is that Ramayana has always been studied and written in holistically, whereas Mahabharata and its versions have always been written in pieces. And this also, Nidhi ji, I've learned from Ami Ganatra ji in one of her talks.
Thank you. Thank you for that very elaborate reflection. We will take, I'll combine Neha ji's question about how to avoid juxtaposing religion with IKS, since we have students from different backgrounds in the class. That is one question. And this, I want you to answer as a teacher.
Yes, I will answer this as a teacher.
Yeah, and the another question is by Pankaj ji. He's asking, because students are using mobile phones and digital devices a lot, how do we instill this inquisitiveness in students? I think you can especially answer this in context of IKS.
Yes, I will answer the first question, the juxtapositioning the religion. Now I use the word Itihas. There are scientific evidences to show that Ram existed, Krishna existed. Of course, there are a lot of metaphors which go into this. I wanted to elaborate one of the metaphors of the Ahilya in the context of Ram. Okay, but about the when people talk about feminism, when people talk about misogynistic approach that is there in India, or whether it is a very paternalistic society where male dominance is there. In context of Ahilya also there is a story. Maybe in some other context I will tell that. But when I took today's session, did I say any other religion is bad? No. Did I say that Ram is God? No. Did I say Ram is the only God or Krishna is the only God? No. I'm purely talking in context of इतिहास के. ये तो इतिहास है. अगर क्रिश्चियन का ग्रेगोरियन कैलेंडर शुरू होता है जीसस क्राइस्ट के बर्थ से, तो you have some evidence or some context in which you are saying that this happened. The newest religion, which is Islam, talks about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And there are these evidences that, okay, something like this happened. So in context of Ram, Mahabharata, you don't treat them like God, it's okay. Treat them like itihasical stories. When we discuss case studies, today what I did was entirely a case study approach. I only consider it as a hypothetical case, even if I believe that Ram is not there. So I'm not just juxtaposing my religion to be the only religion or the only righteous way of doing things. Every religion is good. Every religion has its own principles, what is to be done, what is not to be done, etc. So in a way of case study also, if I could take my session today, I'm purely saying that it is a case study. I'm just using a case study approach. You don't consider Ram as God, no problem. I'm not even telling you to consider Ram as God. I never use the word God in my entire session today. I'm told इतिहास, मेरे लिए इतिहास है. ये हुआ था. It is evidential. And there are evidences for proving that Ram existed.
Yes. And I think Pankaj wants to know how can we generate inquisitiveness among students, especially with respect to IKS. So just a brief answer would be really helpful.
So IKS, few months back when I was teaching debates in class, I had referred to one book which is called as Vad. In that, there are principles of, debating, like how Gargi and Maitreyi did, or how other rishis debated with each other. This also evidence is there. So you can link the various aspects. Of course, right now, Nidhi, till the time this entire IKS concept or the Bharatiya Gyan Pranali concept is done very scientifically, we are in a very nascent stage as of now. It is a baby right now, just born baby, which has come only after NEP 2020. So it's not that we were short of knowledge. We already have knowledge. We have libraries and libraries. Even after the invasions and burning of so many libraries, we still exist today as a civilization. So there is enough material. In what context you want to take, we can, consider these as management lessons, or any other subject, whether it is history, whether it is geography. Now, if you want to teach somebody isthmus, if you want to teach somebody concept of isthmus, is Ram Setu not an isthmus? A human-built isthmus? Just like there is isthmus of Panama. Geography padhate ye bata do na ki there was a artificial bridge created which acted as an isthmus. In geography, science padhate bata do ke you can relate these aspects, how sustainability padhate you can take the Gurukul systems and how they are doing. So there are various ways in which we can collaborate the aspect of Bharatiya Gyan Pranali to the current subjects that we are teaching. However, this is still a piecemeal approach. Till the time the holistic approach is built, which I consider myself too naive for doing that. So there are a lot of efforts from government, from public, from learners, from parents, from teachers, readiness, licenses, aspects, so many other aspects are there. So there is no need to juxtapose anything. Neither there is any need to consider anything falsehood. Let's take it as a case-based approach. This is what even my philosophy says. This is what Gita says. Don't believe in me, but believe in what you are doing. Your karma, your dharma.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope, Pankajji, your question was answered. And there are a lot of comments and reflections in the chat box. There is one podcast recommended by Lopamudraji. Participants can look it up. Lopamudraji, maybe you can share it with me on WhatsApp and I can pass it on in the WhatsApp group. Rajan Sharma ji is saying, I feel that takeaways are more important rather than the so-called logical reasoning or evidences. That's a point well made, Rajan ji. Thank you so much. So we are closing the session for today. And I think, Kapil ji, there was also a question about sharing journal publications which accept IKS related research. If you have any references or sources of journals where our participants can send their research, please do share it with me and I will pass it on in the group. We have newly created this IKS research group yesterday. So anybody who wishes to get added to that group, wishes to join that group, I'll share the link in our main group. Thank you so much. There are appreciations and praises coming in for your session. So once again, thank you, Kapil ji. Dr. Vikas, do you want to come in at this moment?
Nothing for now.
Great.
We can call it a day.
Thank you, Nidhi ji. Thank you, Vikas ji. We'll just end it with a prayer, which